so it's not like the loud one, so it's just the...
No, it is the loud one.
I really do. I'm not the the quietest person in the universe. So.
1, 2.
You can sing now.
So let's kick it off. Does anybody have a clicker maybe that works? My battery's just So let's kick it off. The sooner we finish, the longer we can talk over beers. I think it's not a... I'm going to try to include you a little bit more like this. So, thank you for coming. I'm really, I just explained to you what's the reason why we came to Bratislava and the reason why we're visiting non-booming countries and cities when it comes to blockchain. So, my name is Luka and I'm running something called Æternity Ventures, which is a venture arm of Æternity Blockchain. And Æternity Blockchain, I'm going to talk a little bit about them later. So Æternity, have you heard about Æternity Blockchain before? No. So, blockchain protocol platform started in 2016, did a token sale 2017, launched the mainnet a year ago, October 2018, didn't crash, didn't re-roll, didn't do anything nasty, didn't steal anyone's money, so living, thriving, and we're trying to get other, so currently what we're trying to figure out is what is the best way for us to populate the ecosystem that we built, so that other people can build cool stuff on top of this. But a little bit about myself. So I spent a long time entrepreneurship, startups mostly, and then accidentally I ended up in a corporation, a big one, Telecom, Deutsche Telekom, Slovak Telecom. For a while, accidentally I stayed for 7 years and intentionally exited out as soon as I could. So the main point is the following. So the reason why I chose to quit and go into crypto and blockchain full time is this picture. So story time. Joined the telecom in 2011 I think. And basically this was the day before the mobile really picked up. So I was present at the board meetings and some high level discussions where they were discussing whether this Viber thing is going to kill SMS or WhatsApp. And the conclusion was no. I mean, SMS is better. It's robust. It's like if you're in an emergency, you're not going to send a WhatsApp. And this is what happened a couple of years later. So basically 2012 to 2018, from their pockets, somebody took $300 billion, all of it, just by using some other apps. So, and this is the thing what happens. So I'm a guy who likes history very much. And I try to follow all of these cycles. This is something that happens to everyone, and you can check this, is completely unaware of it, although all of the signals are in front of their eyes. So let me ask you, so do you know what industry was the most innovative industry 100 years ago? Like cutting edge stuff. 100 years ago was close. Electricity. So electricity was like this new sexy thing. Oh, imagine you click here, you press this, and all of a sudden there's light. There's no fire, there's no nothing. It's like it was almost magical. And then it only took a little bit less than 100 years to become completely. I won't say they became the kind of the foundation for the civilization. Without it, if tomorrow electricity is gone for a month, like permanently gone worldwide, we would revert back to the dark ages completely. So, and that's the thing. So this happens to every single industry out there. So they either get disrupted, and in telecom and in electricity, this is an effect called dumb pipes. You know what's a dumb pipe effect? So before electricity, the electrical companies were doing all the same things like banks and telecoms. They would sell you, if you buy electricity from me, I will give you something magical called a toaster, or washing machine or a bulb, and you can get it only from me. So they would bundle their services with something else. And the end effect of this is I can buy it on the market. I don't need your stinky light bulbs. Just give me the electricity. So the dump pipes is basically for them is electricity production. For telecoms is like I don't need your stupid shit. I just need data and maybe voice, not even voice. So that's a dump pipe. And this is the scary shit of all of the things. And the same thing is happening right now to bankers in the banking industry, and the central banks, and all of these things, slowly but steadily. So that's the effect. And this is the they call it standing on the shoulder of giants. So basically, all of those business models are built on top of some other business model. So without electricity, there's no communication. Without in a modern way, without the communication, there's no Uber or Facebook. Without that kind of communication, we don't have things that we're working on right now. If the world is not connected, there's no effect for something like this. So, but let me take you a little bit of. Let me take a step back. This is one of my favorite things in the world. You know what this is? No, Back to the Future 2. So this is my favorite movie of all times. Like absolutely, I love it. So I was born 1980, so it was like 25 years ago. And it was the communist time, so we didn't have access to that many films. So I got, one of these VHS, what's the English word? VHS, yeah. Yeah, VHS tapes, and that was the only movie that I got it from. And I watched it like maybe 1,000 times, and I was super fascinated, but I was like completely absorbed. I watched it like probably 1,000 times. And the reason for it is like, it showed us a future, this crazy future, unbelievable. So you remember, you watched the movie, right? You remember what the movie was about? It was about like flying cars and I don't know, this. So I highlighted it. Whoop. So VR, you put the glasses on you. So imagine it's 1986 or whenever you were 6 years old, and then you put something on your head, and all of a sudden it's like magical Nero type of a thing. So, but the main point is that the reason why I'm putting this movie out is that this movie predicted some of the things that are going to happen. So, and for half of them, it kind of completely lost, and that's the purpose of the movie, right? So they promised us what? Hoverboards, flying cars, and stuff like this, which didn't materialize, obviously, but some things did. So for me, it's always, I remember that effect every time I interact with something, a new technology or a new concept or something like this. For majority of the people around us, it's something which is, it's like flying cars. Yeah, it's a cool concept and an idea, but it's never going to work. So let me show you what I built. I built a timeline of my life, showing all of those dots. So I was born in 1980. So 25 years ago. And 1980 was a year that Apple One, I think, came out. So start of the PC revolution. I was too young, I was like 0 years old, so for me it was, but I remember vividly some things that happened later on. So I remember, 1991, macOS, like the proper one, came out. 1990, I was 10 years old, the World Wide Web. 1994, Netscape came out. Mosaic, it was called Mosaic back then. Do you remember, anybody remembers Mosaic? No, so we were too young for this. So I remember when I was a kid, the way that we used to surf the web was we used Gopher and Lynx. So they were textual browsers. So they were like this amazing and horrible thing at the same time, because it was the first time you request something and then you get a bunch of text. No pictures, no nothing. And then Mosaic comes out. And then all of a sudden, everything is changed. Like, and I remember I was a kid, I was running back to my dad. It's like, I was 14 years old. The only place that I could surf back then in Croatia was a national library. And then somebody installed Mosaic. I was like, oh my God, I'm completely mind blown. I ran back to my dad and he's like, who needs this? Like, it's nice, it's very cool, but it's a toy. I I was so, like, I could immediately imagine, oh my God, we can, one day, I don't even need to go to school, you know, I can get all of my knowledge through that. Imagine you will never, you know, you will not be able, you will not need to go to work because you can do it through the computer and blah, blah, blah. He was like, you know, who needs this? You know, the world is built by, he was a construction engineer. For him, you know, you need to have something concrete that you build on top, and then, you know, everything else was a mirage, like stupid things for kids and philosophers, is what he usually said, hippies and philosophers and kids. So, but if you go, for example, 2001, who was born in 2001? Nobody. Hopefully you're all older than that. But 2001, I was 21 years old, and Croatia is a small country, and Germans usually use Croatia to experiment. So we were the first country in Europe, I think, to launch commercial 3G. So 3G, in the pocket of your trousers, you had like a mobile phone that could browse the internet. In 2001, this was like unbelievable. And again, same effect. Walked to my dad, and the guy's like, and I'm super excited, like, look, I don't even need to use the computer. I just like browse, like, ask me anything, ask me whatever. What's the temperature of the sun? I can tell you immediately. 8,000 degrees. Why? I have it here. So again, for him, it was like, yeah, whatever. Like, who needs this? Who needs this? By then, he had a computer, and it was a special place in his house. And you know, if you need to find the information, you sit behind the desk, you type it in, and then it comes to you. It's like, who needs it? It's completely irrelevant. So, but that's the point. So all of these dots presented an opportunity and a reality of some sort, but everybody, like vast majority of the people, they live in the current reality, and they don't even consider the other alternative reality a possibility. Why? Because it's, you know, it's not serious to think in those thoughts. And this is the effect from the first slide. That because you don't have you cannot think about the first utility from 3G in your mobile phone. So internet connectivity on your mobile phone that you can browse through. So, but again, I still remember I'm this generation between both. So I'm a generation that still remembers the analog world. When you would, you know, if you wanted to meet with someone, you would use your rotary phone and, you know, make an arrangement, make an appointment, and then go there and wait for the guy to show up or not. Wait for 15, 20 minutes. If the guy doesn't show up, you go back home. So, and, you know, I saw the other part, the whole era. So all of these dots are a constant reminder for me that all of the new, so I'm now 39, so 25. So 39, and maybe in a couple of years, some new tech is going to come along, which I'm not going to understand. I'm going to dismiss, like, nah, this psychobillion shit. No, that's hardcore. That's not for, you know, serious human beings. This is for hippies and stuff like this. I don't know, but this is a constant reminder for me. Let me give you last example. 2006 was the year that YouTube came out. So 2006 was not that far off. Just a couple of years in my head. I was like, do you remember how did we surf before YouTube? How did we find videos before YouTube? Yeah, I remember still, because you would use Google or Yahoo back then. You would look for it, and then, okay, it's here, let's download it. Wait for it to download, and then, oh shit, this is not the video that I need. So 2006 was the year, or 2007 afterwards, was the year that kind of universe split in two. You know, because there's no way that anybody's going to go back to the old ways. Like, let's search the internet for videos, download them, and then watch them. No, you go to YouTube or YouTube-like things and click and click and click. By the way, do you know it's funny, do you know what's the majority of usage of YouTube? What is YouTube mostly used? You know this. Tutorials. Education. 70% of YouTube is education. How to hack a Wi-Fi network, how to play guitar, how to say fuck you in Chinese, how to, you know, all these things which are kind of, it was not intended for this. It was intended for cats and music videos and stuff like this. Unbelievable. So my sister, she's like the youngest one in the family, and I use her to experiment a lot of things, and this is one of them. So she taught herself how to play a guitar when she was, I think, 14 or 15, by using only YouTube, nothing else. She didn't play very well, but that's besides the point. So let me show you what a couple of years means. And this is something that, when somebody shows you in retrospect, it's obvious, but if you're not aware of it and somebody, shows you a reflection, then you become aware of it. It is like, every morning you wake up and then you go to the toilet and you see yourself in the mirror and you look the same to you, like exactly the same, because you slowly are aging, And then somebody shows you a picture of you 10 years ago and you say, oh shit, I'm ugly now and I have wrinkles and I'm fat. So this is the same effect. 2005. This picture was taken, where was it taken? Take a guess. There's some ninjas. So, not Vietnam, Vatican. Vatican, 2005, the German Pope. Forgot his name. Benedict, yes, exactly. Ratzinger. Yeah. So 2005, and this picture is famous for what? Has 4 mobile phones in 2005. So 1, 2, 3. You see this guy? He's looking at the phone. You see the reflection of this. So now look at it. Same place, same time. Just a couple of years later. Completely. So this shows you one thing, and for us it's completely normal. So if I asked you 7 years ago or 8 years ago, who has a smartphone in this room? Maybe half of you would say, who has a smartphone. If I ask you now, maybe one, like some security guy or paranoid guy would say, they're not going to track me. Everybody else. So mobile phone, in a matter of less than 8 years, became something which is like 24/7 with us. 24/7 per day, somebody is carrying a mobile phone. Where do you keep your phone when you go to sleep? Like here. First thing you see when you wake up, last thing you see, when you go to sleep. So something as trivial as a mobile phone become an indistinguishable part of our lives. And we didn't realize it. It was like, normally if you ask my dad, it's horrible. It is the end of civilization because everybody's looking at their phones, nobody's talking, the children are not playing outside. So it's like, for him, this is the end of civilization. For me, it's not. It's part of normal technology. And I realized, so this technology, for me, is something that empowers people and shows us how, or helps us to be better and, move forward. So, another question, another picture. This was taken in 2014 and a year later. So this was Hong Kong. The same thing that is happening in Hong Kong right now was happening back then. So 1 million people came out peacefully protesting outside. And what did they do? They shut down their 3G immediately. So is anybody familiar with the app? It's an old app, probably new ones exist. It was called FireChat. FireChat, right? It was done by a bunch of kids, like crazy hackers, I don't know where, but they moved to US and they built a communication stack, like a mesh network for communication based on, I don't know, I think it was a Bluetooth framework, communication framework from Apple that came out. So, coming from the telecom industry, I know exactly how much money does it cost for 1 million people to stand in one place and have access to the internet. Billions. And a lot of time, a lot of money, a lot of efforts, and then a bunch of kids come and create something which allows you to communicate here without any infrastructure, without any intermediaries, no third parties. You just connect and talk and chat, and the effect of this is one person has the access to the internet, everybody else has access to the internet. Not very fast, but still they can communicate to the outside world. So, again, this shows you how technology completely pushes the limits, and we just take it for granted because it's normal. Of course, of course we should communicate in this way. And I have a theory why this is the case. So, technology became the new rock and roll. When I was a kid, if you wanted to be cool, let's say you're 16, and if you wanted to be cool, you would have a band. You would play in a band. He plays the guitar, you're the drums, and this, the vocalist, whatever. And you would play some gigs in a garage or something like this, pretend that you're going to play at some, I don't know, Wembley, or pretend that you're Freddie Mercury, or, I don't know, Johnny Rotten, or something like that. You know what the kids these days do? 16-year-old kids now, if they're like progressive or cool, or they want to be like recognized, they build shit. They start startups, they code, they're hack. So, and it's, going everywhere. And we just missed it. So tech became, another example, I use my sister for, a lot. So she was, I think, also 14 or 15. So when I was a kid, in my room, I had this, there was this magazine called Bravo. So Bravo had these posters, which you put like this on the wall, and it had, I don't know, Andrea Gassi, Michael Jordan, John Bon Jovi, stuff like this. So kids didn't change, the way that they behave changed. So I walked into my sister's room, she's living with my parents, and I walked into her room, and can you guess what two posters, amongst others, but two like very distinct ones, did she have on her wall? I was shocked, I was like, what the fuck? No, Minecraft. She was a little bit, it was like maybe 4 or 5 years ago, something like this. So she had Steve Jobs. That was one. Second one was Mark Zuckerberg. I was like, what the, where's, I don't know, Justin Bieber or I don't know, Luka Modric or some other basketball. And in her answer kind of shocked me and kind of made me feel awesome for the future. It's like, why the fuck would I have like, these people on the wall? What the fuck did they do? It's like they chase a ball and entertain, so they're clowns, or they sing a song, so entertain us. What did they do, to deserve my spot on the wall? And I'm like, my perception was completely the opposite, because you had this band-aid for Africa, saving poor African children, and they had, I don't know, Metallica playing in Moscow in 1990 before the wall fell, and all these things, which music was like, yes, revolution, this guitar kills fascists and stuff like this. And again, just a decade or two, things completely change. And again, there is a big rift behind and between those. But the main point of this is basically the following. So the reason why we're here and the reason why we're visiting this part of the world and not, I don't know, US or France or stuff like this is the following. So I don't think that the biggest changes are going to come from developed countries and developed world, regardless of that. So probably not US, probably not Germany. And let me show you why. So do you know which country in Europe, 2 questions. Which country in Europe has the highest mobile penetration rate? The second question, which country in Europe has the fastest speed of internet in Europe? Take a wild guess. Iceland? Sweden? Never gonna guess. The highest mobile penetration rate in Europe has a country called Montenegro. 600,000 people. They have 2.8 mobile phones per humans. Even children. It's insane. It's absurd. From my perspective, it's absurd. And the country with the fastest average speed of internet is Romania. Romania, which is like a backwater country. Okay, not backwater country. Sorry, Romanians. So a country with 47% of rural population, which lives off the land and still lives on the land. So I have a friend. My best friend is Romanian, and we live together work together in Krakow. And when he came, he was furious because he thought that they were cheating him. So for 12 euros, you can get only 25 megabits per second. It was like, motherfucker, that's like thieves. Why? Because he can get 250 megabits for 12 euros in Bucharest. And I read somewhere that this year or last year, I'm not sure, in Timișoara, one of the cities, which is not a capital, but one of the cities, smaller ones, they're testing 1 terabit per second. So 1 terabit per bloody second. It's like you can download the whole internet in, I don't know, half an hour with that connection. So again, it's not Sweden, it's not Germany, it's not the West. Why? Because things function there, more or less. And the reason, so I was super curious, why is that so? And I spoke to a lot of people there. And it's funny, you know why Montenegro has the like more mobile phones than humans there? They jumped immediately from nothing, from like rotary phones to GSM. So you had like 2 technologies before. You had something called the NMT, which was preceding, and then you had something even before that. So they scrapped all of that legacy tech, legacy system. They said, fuck that, we want, GSM immediately, we want like edge. They went directly from no mobile phones to mobile phones with edge. So, and Romania is the same thing. So, you remember the dial-up? Like, click and then, like, I remember that as a kid because it's a horrible sound, because most of my browsing days were during night. It's like trying to suffocate with a pillow or something like this. So, they have no idea because, they jumped immediately to exactly, optics and cox. So for them, it's like they don't need to spend on maintaining hundreds of millions of euros of something old. So I don't know. For me, it's a very interesting signal about what's going to happen and where is it going to happen. So the main points. So Facebook. Tough topic, but very, very specific. So if you ask my father, Facebook is this thing that was invented by KGB, FBI, CIA, Mossad to spy on us. And he's never, ever, ever, going to use that ever. So, but for like a bunch of people, this is a way to stay connected. And the effect of this is that Facebook didn't invent anything awesome. They just utilized and structured a basic human needs to communicate with people, with one another. That's one of the bases of our civilization. Without the communication, we're no better than the apes. So it took them 10 years to reach more than 1 billion users. You know how many people do they have connected now? Almost 5 billion human beings are now connected to something, through WhatsApp, Instagram, Facebook, or something like that. Horrible and amazing at the same time. I'll tell you why. So for me, again, I remember the old days where communication was very scarce. So do you guys have family, outside of, somewhere far away, like not different country, but let's say a continent, right? So do you feel connected with those people? Like what's going on with them? Why?
Because of Skype, because of Messenger, because of...
Exactly. So for me, when I was growing up, I had family all over, right? Australia, US, Germany. Like we had a lot of diaspora, but these are imaginary people for me. Like I spoke to them twice per year. Their birthday, my birthday. Hi auntie, happy birthday. Bye. That's it. So but now, huh?
ICQ.
It came a little bit later. ICQ, yeah, in MSN, the first one, and it's IRC. But yeah, after it came, I felt connected because I could chat, I could interact with them. And what this creates is some sort of an empathy. Because before that, I couldn't care less about them because they were imaginary people. I never met them in my life. I know that they existed, but for me, they were like, oh, the poor guy, he lost his arm. It's like, I don't know. It's like, yeah, poor guy. But right now, when I have shitload of friends. This is actually from my father. He was sending me these like funny pictures from the internet, and he's always like mocking me for this, like, haha, imaginary people on the internet, you're friends with them. The main point is that, because you're connected with them, you empathize with them. When their kid goes to school, when it's sick, when they got a new promotion, when they're happy, when they're sad. And this is an effect that's, Facebook, when it dies, and it's going to die, eventually. They were not the first one. So, do you remember MySpace? Who has still a MySpace account? So, Google, one term, is MySpace threatened by Facebook. And it was, I think, 2007 or 2008, not that far ago. And the article in New York Times was dismissing Facebook because MySpace had 350 million users. It's like, nobody's going to attack that. So, but the effect stays. The effect of this connectivity stays. In what way? We're going to see. So,
Is your sister using Facebook actually?
she has Facebook and 10 other things, like the newest shit, which I kind of now, started understanding, is this thing called TikTok, which is like huge and crazy because it's owned by the Chinese, and that's a little bit dangerous. So it's basically just constant flow of content. It's not about pictures, it's about content. It's like funny, cool content which never ends and streams, and every hour of, 3 hours of their lives, it's like you just press and then it flows in front of you. Unbelievable. And I understand it. I don't use it. I mean, I have it installed to, here and there just to check out, but I don't use it because I have enough distractions in my life. But I understand it. So, Facebook, yeah, they're not going to die. Just like electricity guys didn't die. They kind of morphed into something less relevant. So, but that's the main point. So, this is the reason. So the reason I wanted to explain to you why I'm doing this, what I'm doing, and why the rest of my colleagues and my friends in Æternity are doing exactly this. Because we realize that basically we are living in a world that, that our modern political system, economical system was invented maybe 200 years ago, 250 years ago, perfected, to some extent. And then, but it was fruit of something called the Industrial Revolution, when everything was centralizing. So you had huge nation states. When did nation states start? Like maybe 250 years ago, right? Before there were like small tribes and everybody started centralizing. But all of our laws, all of our, the whole thing that we're using now were built for a system which doesn't exist for 100 years now. And we're still using it. And, fuck. So, but this is the thing. So, this is what's happening right now. I just painted the picture like very vividly, but you feel it. I just kind of vocalized it a little bit. That, the new revolution, especially the kids being born and introduced today or tomorrow, or who are now, equipped to carry a mobile phone or, work on a computer. Endless choice, new tech. Every single time, every single month, a new technology comes along and is born, and it's kind of getting traction around it. And everything is being automatized for the last 200 years. And you have all these machine learning shit, happening, which basically allows you not to think that much. And we are still using the old system for some reason. We still pay in a very similar way that we paid into like 200 years ago. And we are still voting for the same people, okay, maybe not 100, let's say 100 years ago, the modern democracy. And we still, choose to give our, benefit of the doubt and our trust to someone who has it for 4 years, regardless of what that person does. So, I think, the economy is changing, and nobody can, tell you differently. Identity, political allegiances of any sort. So there's no more left and right. There's like spectrum, like severe spectrum of this. Although the perception might not be. The very essence of what we perceive as human beings is changing, whether we like it or not. It's like inevitable. But this is what's going to happen. So the current setup, just like any kind of legacy system, like GSM, NMT, like dial-up, DSL, fiber, etc., etc. So it's going to stay for a while. There's a lot of money and some cost built into that old system, but new system is going to be much more efficient, much more just fair, hopefully, and it's going to drive some, really cool stuff. So I believe that this is happening, whether we acknowledge it or not. It's happening around us. So you have technology-led restructuring of, politics, society, the world around us, and, this is the reason why myself personally, is doing this for the last couple of years. So I'm not in it for the moons and Lambos. I'm in it because I recognize that change is coming and something is happening. So not going to bore you with the rest of the boring stuff, but just shortly. So now you know why we are doing this. I'm going to show you now what. Very quickly. So, but before I jump onto this, do you agree with the kind of the painted picture that I tried to show you here, or you have like a strong disagreement?
I do agree.
But
yeah, the problem what I have with these actually technological gadgets or platform, whatever, to identify whatever, will become something relevant. Like we were developing things for Google Glass, for example, and it died out. And there are a lot of things which died. So you had the graph there which pointed out certain things, but around that you had hundreds of others.
Absolutely.
Which have died. And for me, this is the most problematic part. Like to point at a technology or to a gadget which will grow.
Absolutely. And I do agree with you. It's like I explained it to myself as Darwinism. So you have like the survival of the fittest. Whoever dies, their DNA is embedded in the ones who survive. Part of that. So whichever technology wins, their DNA is embedded in the common future technology. But one thing to point out is that once Google Glass didn't die, they were shut down intentionally. Why? Because they understood that you cannot make money really quick, really fast in that case. But it inspired some other people from Oculus, from the crazy guy John Carmack, one of the most craziest. Like, I love this guy because he has been consistently outperforming everyone in future predictions for the last, I don't know, when did Doom came out? Original one, like 30 years ago, almost. Yeah. So I do agree, but the main point is that, I don't know, this has been happening for the last 10 years, and for me it's not only about the technology itself, it's at the same time for technology, but also the effect of the technology, because Google Glass, to be honest, or VR is not that exciting. It is because...
This was just an example.
No, but I'm showing you the example. This effect, so I'm guided by most of the things that happen to me in life, and one of those things, like a profound moment, was my sister and watching these two guys on the wall, which I realized that, politicians, footballers, musicians are irrelevant, and the guys who are actually building something, like massively, like impacting the stuff, are relevant a little bit. So tech-wise, VR, maybe in 10, 20 years is going to change the way that we consume, I don't know, content or learn, but it's not going to change the way that we function as a society. I don't,
It was in Back to the Future, so
I know.
that.
I remember voting and you're fired and immediately revoked. I remember that. I don't know, at least this is my interpretation of the whole thing. But let me run through this really quickly. I don't want to bore you, and so you want to grab some beers for sure, right? And talk. So, road trip. I don't know why we are in Utrecht. We want to have something very far, which is not also very much into blockchain. And apparently not a lot of stuff is happening in Tallinn or Helsinki. Fun fact, you know how many blockchain associations they have in Finland? 9. It was like a shock for me. It's like, ooh, it's like this is what we do in the Balkans. It's like we start 15 different associations because it's fun for us. But yeah, so part of the road trip, the main point of the road trip is to preach the gospel of Satoshi. Not really. We run a blockchain-focused VC fund, which invests in funds, people who build blockchain products. So I'm not talking about like protocols, I'm not talking about tools, but actual products who utilize blockchain technology for something. So I've been doing this for the past couple of years, and just want to show you. Can see it very well, but we kind of spread out throughout the world quite nicely. So we have a couple of hubs around the world. We are in total around 150 people. 85% of that is developers and tech, and the rest of us are non-tech and business people trying to kind of push the agenda a little bit far. So tech wise, similar to Ethereum, smart contract protocol, which uses a couple of specific things in a very specific way. So state channels, oracles, naming system, these are the things which are embedded in the layer 1, in the core protocol of our protocol. So you don't need to rely on second parties or third parties to give that access to you. We have use proof of work for securing the network, but we use proof of stake for on-chain governance. And the issue of scalability in our case is solved by using state channels and off-chain transactions. Basically, it's equivalent of exchanging cash or signing a contract between two persons. It can be private, it can be public, depending on what you want to do. So 150 plus in hiring, HQ in Liechtenstein. Liechtenstein is a very, very small village in, I don't know, somewhere between Italy and Switzerland and Austria. But they have very progressive blockchain thinking. So they're a super small country and they understand this effect that I just showed you. Like Sweden doesn't have the fastest internet, but Romania has. Why is that so? But Romania and Switzerland are like magnitudes of difference in GDP and everything else. Because somebody adopted something very new tech, and regulated it in a very good way. So this is what these guys are doing. And Ventures is actually, it's not a company, it's just part of the ecosystem where we have mandate to spend like a specific amount of money to finance projects who are utilizing blockchain. And mostly we're focused on Æternity blockchain, but we're, if Æternity doesn't have some functionalities, you're more than welcome to use something else. But we help them in other spaces. So mostly giving access to our core developers, but also like marketing, accounting, and all of the other things that usually people don't consider. So we did a token sale in 2017, and to some people this is like crypto OG, because there was not a lot of ICOs back then, and to the different effect, there's not a lot of live ICOs alive that fundraised in 2017 or earlier. So it's like a handful of those folks. So we have a lot of scars and a lot of learnings embedded into this. So we kind of created an ecosystem that tries to push other people who want to build a business, blockchain business, and make it, kind of a reality. So we did 3 batches so far, so 3 batches of startups, invested totally in 18 projects. Most of them are coming live or came live in the last couple of months. We want to go now a little bit further. So we're starting in Malta in November, then India in January, then Uruguay and Kenya in Q1 and Q2 2020. And we want to pump the amounts and the number of startups growing from there. And again, we believe that this, the graph, the timeline, that somewhere around there, this completely, of course we use blockchain tech. I mean, this is like somebody asks you, do you use internet in your daily business? Of course, but there's nothing without it. We believe that this is going to be very, very, very soon, very fast. So, yeah. So we do it in a decentralized way, meaning that you don't need to participate, you don't need to physically come. So we had teams from, decentralized, it's distributed, let's call it like this. So we gather in one room, we bring in all of us, whoever wants to join can join, but if you're a guy in Venezuela, there's no way for you to, or there is no easy way and cheap way for you to participate in this. But in the last 2 batches we had people from Venezuela, Ghana, Kenya. We invested in 2 Kenyan companies, one from Kenya, one from Ghana. So you basically participate online and just participate. That's the main point. And yeah, this is in Malta because we're kicking off in Malta. And Malta is a specific. Again the size of Montenegro. They are not famous for their number of mobile phones per human beings, but they're famous for, or let's say, lucky enough to implement, again, a very open regulation towards cryptocurrencies, blockchain, amongst other things, gambling, betting, etc., but they're quite open to kind of doing a lot of things. So, yeah. Mostly we invest in seed stage startups, but again, visionary idea means a very simple thing. It means that, you know, if you're looking to replace a current flawed system, you cannot think small. You cannot do, let's do a blockchain-based, decentralized Uber for Bratislava. So you need to kind of dig a little bit deeper and, you know, try to, or let's create another exchange, but this time it's going to be pink. So it needs to have some sort of a disruptive potential, not immediately visible. So immediately visible meaning like for the next 2 years. So you need to attack something which is quite scary, let's call it like this. So blockchain use case needs to be true. So if you want to do a blockchain-based cooking app that allows you to share the meals amongst your friends whenever you want it, you're not for us. You can go, you know, try to get funding from somewhere else. But if you're building something that will try to change, I'll give you an example. Let me give you an example from some of our investments in home storage. So not all of them are here, but it's a Ubuntu. Again, a Kenyan startup. Unbelievable guys, crazy guys, one of my favorites. They're like cockroaches, cannot be killed. It's like they pass through so many shits that, you know, now whatever we think a catastrophic event, they're like, cool, we have plan A, B, C, and D. So if you think about how we actually operate right now on the internet, so, or anywhere else for that matter, so you go into, let's say we came here to a hotel, but I usually use Airbnb. So I walk into someone's apartment and I sleep there. So, you know, a malicious person can, I don't know, go inside, rob me, take my kidneys, do whatever you want. And I'm safe because this is mostly the Western world where things function. But imagine what happens if you do the same level of trust, let's say in Nigeria. If you're a female and it's 2 o'clock in the morning and you walk into someone's car, Uber, like you called an Uber and you walk into someone's car. So there's like, there are parts of the world which rely heavily on trust, and it's completely different from what we're using. So one of the things that they're trying to achieve, and I really hope they're going to achieve, is change the way that we trust people by tokenizing that in a way. So that basically our trust is part of our, we have a lot of friends that we trust, we have family that we trust, and we have a directly vested interest in someone avoiding something very bad happening to them. So they're building exactly this. It's a little bit complex, but you get the point. Homeport, satellite data. Satellite industry is like the most centralized industry out there. Maybe army or military is more centralized than them. But basically what happens is you have a shitload of satellites that we all paid for, and only the people owning massive base stations can actually take the data from that. But now you have also a shitload of people, researchers, kids who launch mini satellites and nano satellites, bless you, who can do the same thing. So they're doing a decentralized platform for exactly this. So anybody can become, if they want, a node that will take the data from the space without having like heavy equipment in a massive way. Or AmpNet. AmpNet is maybe my second or third, maybe favorite. Electricity. So they are circumventing the current existing laws in the majority of the countries by allowing people to trade electricity in a peer-to-peer fashion without the licenses or anything else. So if you produce your own electricity and you want to send it to a random dude, I don't know, in Košice, for example, there's no legal way for you to do so, but they found a way. So they do it by launching something called an energy cooperative. So basically creating a company and join a company, and within the company we can do whatever you want. It's like one department sending something to the second department. And it's completely legal and it's completely open. So all of these things are trying to kind of push certain things around that. Cryptic legends. So that's what usually people look at first because it's the most colorful logo. Gaming, NFTs. It's like League of Legends meets, I don't know if you're gamers or not, not. League of Legends meets Bella or something like this. It's a card trading game, stuff like this. So all these are trying to push some sort of a concept never done before in a specific way to disrupt an industry which is ripe for something like this by using blockchain tech. Hopefully ours, but again, not necessarily ours. That's it. Don't have anything else. I can stop using this mic now.
So now I kind of try to explain what we do, why we do it, stuff like this. But what about you? Have any questions around this? So does anybody actively build or is thinking about building a product on blockchain or still trying to figure it out? Tried, didn't work.
The problem was, if you are working and if you are looking for the business case behind it, actually, if you are looking for you want to make money, actually, not money. And when we had the idea, how to do it, when we met some clients who could actually use it, we found out that we talked to banks and companies who need somebody who's on the market for several years, who is able to, actually, when you come there as IBM or Accenture,
I call this Mickey Mouse company. So you come as a Mickey Mouse company and, guys, we're a $100 million company. If you fuck up, we hurt bad. So I need to have leverage to sue you at the end. Look, I was coming from the startup industry, meaning I was building my own startups, and I was always constantly trying to pitch to Russian Telecom, Deutsche Telekom, to Allianz, to all of those guys. All of them had no idea what to do. Because first thing they asked me, how many employees do you have? I was like, 2, not me. They're like, yeah, no, thank you. Then I learned a little bit. So the effect here is a little bit different because here, one of the things we're trying to build is products for other people, not the corporations. Corporations will follow suit.
actually, this is the point where we got. Actually, it's easier to sell to people than to corporations. But I feel that hype that somehow the large corporations that delivering to different corporations takes so much time that sometimes they risk it.
That's true. If the value for them, perceived value for them is sexy enough and big enough, they'll say, what can we use? Give them some, what do they need? They need 100,000 euros and access to our, give it to them. They're like, what can we use? So, and we can call it PR. So I used to work for something